Well, here we are for another little bit of stage design streaming. So I'm going to get right into it and hopefully get this match done pretty quickly, maybe an hour or so. Well, this is for July, of course, so the natural place to go for name themes is the Declaration of Independence, which I am going to do. Might try and do 6 stages for July, with one of them being a standard exercise kind of thing. And one more. Gotta know your audience there with the imposing taxes on us without our consent thing. Pro tip. suppose a um, really natural classifier for an Independence Day themed map should be El Presidente. I'll see if anything else looks good. Can maybe do both sides now, too. That's actually not bad. I need to get a couple more of the good target sticks from Lowe's, but could use this anyway. Sadly, we didn't get the rule change that'll let us do short and medium courses one hand only. At least not yet, so I, alas, can't do one of those this year. But I think there will be some strong and weak on the standard exercise I'm going to put over here. That's actually a barricade stage. Get that drawn up while I think about what else I'm going to do this match. I do frequently put these classifiers in my SketchUp drawings, not because I need to, but because it's kind of a way to slack off while I let my mind wander and think about what the other stages are going to look like. I'll pop this off screen so I can reference it, then keep drawing. Probably have some of these already in my library of standard targets. Maybe not. That's a little surprising. I should, so I'll do that before I move on. There's the edges overlapping the A, so bring that in. Move this one from the other side. This is also helpful to me for figuring out whether or not a given classifier is going to fit in the tiny bay. Just 1 foot from the outside edge here to the next one. This one's got this way around. One out 1 foot from this side. And then 1 foot out from here. These flipped around. Cool. It's in the should just fit category and also in the classifiers I don't think you see very often category. Both good places to be. So I want the standard exercise to be something interesting. Maybe a speed shoot, since those are always fun, and probably one with vastly different arrangements of, or vastly different ranges to targets. I don't think you can you use steel in speed shoots? I think maybe. Yep, so it's going to be probably a speed shoot with a couple of poppers. They're probably pretty far poppers too, because that's a fun speed change exercise. Okay, so this one is going to be something like engage each close target with 1 round each. No, it's going to be engage close target with 1 round each, and either of the 2 far steal, then reload, and do again. So you'll end up with 2 on all the paper and 2 on the steal, so a total of 12 rounds. I'm going to put these relatively far off because I want there to be some question between whether it's best to go from right to left straight across, or to start far and come near, or some combination thereof. About 20 yards, that's, I think, within reason. So let me bring up my briefs spreadsheet real quick and clear out this previous match information. Day 1 we have the course of human events. It is going to be a 12-round speed shoot. Comstock scoring. Not sure why LibreOffice is so slow today, but 12 handgun rounds, 2 steel, 3 paper, 2 each. Am I counting something wrong here? I must be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a total of 8 rounds. That's a very short stage, but I think still interesting on account of the speed change. Yeah. That's going to be a tough one to write the briefing for. T2 with 2 rounds. I suppose you could game this a bit by stacking, but I think I might leave it as is anyway. And the fact that you've got to hit the far target, you got to hit the far targets at some point, somehow. Those are the ones that are going to be, that would you have the most gain from stacking on anyway. I'll probably put some RO notes on that stage too, just to make it a little bit cleaner. Okay, and I think the classifier that was on bay 3, where it often goes. 3, Virginia, 907. That is an 18-round Comstock course with 6 paper and 3 per. Let's figure out something quick for one of the small bays, I think. Swarms of officers to harass our people. I borrowed that from an internet friend, that particular choice of line from the Declaration of Independence. Let's see what I can do with, say, 1 wall and a couple of barrel stacks, maybe. Angled target. I like to put that kind of thing on the small bay here. An angled target and a single barrel is a very quick way to force someone to move to a different position. Let's maybe make this an IPSC target stage too. Paper will make it quick to reset and easy to set up, which is also a good perk. So this guy's got to come down here. We'll slide him in as tight to the barrel as we can, which will make you come really right up on it to get to it. I think I actually going to need 1 more stack there. That will maybe give me a place I can put a target kind of around here to make you move a bit. So as long as I constrain how far out around this barrel you can come to, that won't limit me too much as far as what I put downrange. Kind of like the idea of maybe one out here too, because that will be available from a great many places, which is sometimes interesting. Let's maybe sketch out some fault lines. Grab a shorty and a medium guy. Bring them over. I guess I already have them over here, but so this guy actually needs to be rotated so you can't see him through that window. At least you can't see the front of him through that window. This guy might have to move. Okay, so fault line comes out to about here. So a bit of a lean, but I don't mind that. Actually, I probably want the next longer fault line anyway, the 4-footer as opposed to the 2-footer. Okay, so since you're going to be like, maybe we can even kick that out a bit so it's got a slightly better line from the outside. So from here, bit of a lean, not too bad of a lean. And the fact that it is a lean means you probably won't be coming out far enough to shoot those barrels behind it, unless you take a jump, I guess. So I'll start you over here, so it makes more sense to make it as a, take it as a lean, rather. That nice and square. Something like that. So I might even bring these guys in a bit, possibly. Bring this guy in and use him to hide a target here around the corner. Which will, I think, limit me, at least with the rules as written, to coming no further forward than him. Now we'll take a super shorty, put him there. So we're currently up to 6 rounds and not a huge number of places to put more of them, so this guy will come out here. Might actually bump this out some. I think one of the hardest parts of stage design, in USPSA at least, is coming up with interesting short courses. I feel like I do a pretty good job a lot of the time. So I'll put this guy out here as an obvious on-the-move guy. So where can't I have targets? I can't have them. So basically, they've got to be... I'll do my usual trick and draw some lines. So this guy you can engage kind of from the furthest possible out, from about there. And you can also kind of get from here maybe. So that's a fairly skinny area. This one, the earliest you can get to kind of about here. The latest is very late, so that'll take away actually just about the entire back of the bay, which is no good. So I need to constrain the angle on him a little bit more. Probably by bringing this barrel in, so it's actually it can be a nice narrow window for you to shoot at him through. Happily, our walls are pretty chunky, so this won't cause too much fun. Actually, it still doesn't make a huge difference. You can still get him from a very long way across. So that might need to move a little bit further back so I can hide it better. But that's okay. Doesn't really make a difference, except that now it's kind of in the line of fire there, maybe. So this guy needs to move a little bit out. He's still not hittable because you can only see the back of him from there. A slightly angled approach to him, I guess, but it's not as hard a lean now either. But I think the thing with hard leans is you really have to have the stage set up to allow for them from the beginning. Okay, so this guy is now taking up a much smaller part of the back of the bay, and particularly doesn't come to that side at all. He does come a good way around there. So let's see if we can't... So this guy I think is going to end up being actually a tuxedo, so I can stick the barrels there and not have to worry about shoot-throughs quite so much. There's my tuxedo on a stand. There he is. which is just a little bit more work for me to do as far as painting goes ahead of time, but I don't really have much going on in July as far as match schedule goes, so I should be able to find the time for it. Okay. Slide him over. Still, he takes away a lot of the back left of the bay, so got 8 targets now. Go with a 9. No, 8 shots now. So there's 10 and 12. I might actually make this a crossing shot. It's going to take another barrel stack, but we are not hurting for barrels. So what can you take from where? You can actually get both of these from there, that guy. So actually those might be implicated now a bit. So we might be skipping the idea for a lean here altogether and bumping this guy out left instead. I think I say this every time I do these stage design streams, but now we've got a potential 180 trap. Well, I needed a stack of barrels anyway, so just kind of cover that off from there. Okay. So you can't take that from a dangerous angle. Got that guy nice and tight. Got these two, so that's a good number of targets, I think. Let's give it a quick count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 14 little 14 round short medium course, I guess. Maybe we'll do a gun on barrel start. So I think I'd really like it. You can't take these two from the same spot, but I can figure that out in a second. Get the fault lines properly lined up. Since we don't need to come out all the way to the all the way to lean around that barrel stack, we can bring this fault line in some. So maybe like a gun on barrel start. Gun on barrel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reloading, at least for me, into the corner, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not exactly swarms of officers as the stage title goes, but I think it'll do. Pull these back a little bit and give myself some slightly harder shots there. Or give the competitors some slightly harder shots, I suppose. Okay. So the next thing to figure out is how do I make them... Ideally, you'd want to come even all the way to the corner to get that, but that might be tough with the shoot-through nature of that guy. But again, I can constrain these pretty tightly, so if I bring that to the back up to the corner, it's actually not a scoring shoot-through, but I can still slide these guys very slightly to the right, I think, and that'll still allow that guy. Yeah, so you're overlapping a little tiny bit there. I think that's probably okay. Even slide the target a little bit further into the barrels to So you've got the overlap, but you're not going to be shooting at him from there. I don't like that you can still get that guy. I'm not sure there's going to be a way around that, except making this really probably too tight for being a barrel stack target. So if I pop him behind there, still have to come around the wall. It's actually to come over on account of those back fellows. So we've got the wall there guarding it. And still a little bit of a shoot through. But I think I'm onto something here as far as hiding that target through the stack. So yeah, now that's good. And from this side, to bring these fellows a little bit over. So this might even be, better done. Slide him back a little bit. Slide him kind of forward and in, maybe kind of. Yeah, so now, yeah, that is good. It's good on that side. It's relatively good on this side. I'll just kind of pull these guys even all the way into the corner. Their main purpose is to give you a little bit more to shoot at from the back. Yeah, and so now here you've got a nice straight line of barrels to show you those guys. It is kind of a tricky, it's not a lot of space for a reload in there for low-cap guys, but we're used to it. Okay, so let me count my targets here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this one's going to get some extra pictures in the setup diagram, I think. So that is on... Oops, I put that on the wrong bay. It's on bay 3, but I kind of have to do that copy and paste thing, I think. Six and 3. This is a 14-round stage with 7 paper, 2 per. That's, let's see, Virginia there in Comstock over here, up to 40 rounds. So I've got 3 stages. That could be like a 115-round match, depending on what I do for the larger bays. I have only used one wall, and we should have built new ones by then too, I think. So I have a little bit of flexibility, at least as far as how much I can put on those 3 big ones. I think that's going to be a fun gimmick, so I'll figure out how to make it work. I want one shot, or one target that goes through both of those ports, and then some way to shoot its stuff through both of them as well, which is going to, I think, probably take some disjoint shooting areas with the number of props I have on hand. But that's, that's life. So I think this guy will go here, and that'll block off shooting. So I put him, block off shooting stuff that way from here. It's going to have to be over this way somewhere, I think. So you're shooting... Ooh, yeah. I can use a mid-length one there, I'm pretty sure. I've been playing a little bit of Trackmania lately, the kind of arcade racing time trial game. And one of the fascinating things about that, well, so I'm kind of thinking currently in terms of styles of map in that. I think of this like a good tech map here, so it's going to be a lot of careful positioning and precise pausing points and so forth. Move this guy for now. He's going to come to it somehow, somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where or how. I think I'm feeling a second stage of IPSC targets this time, so I'll get maybe one with a no-shoot, because those are fascinating. So although I do like the IPSC targets for the slightly harder shooting, they make you... Well, the slightly harder shooting, just generally. The thing about them is that they're very hard to partial up, I feel like, in ways that don't feel punitive. The kind of standard top partial you see is... It's a pretty small A zone you're shooting for at that point, and the down and left and down and right open areas don't feel quite as forgiving as a similar USPSA target for whatever reason. Even though there's actually more area, because you're cutting the USPSA target straight across with partial, or even you're putting a little bump into it, but I think it's just kind of traditional that the IPSC targets have more difficult partial setups, which I suppose is kind of a IPSC tradition too, if you think about it. I'll maybe grab some hardcover, although again, hardcover is a tough sell, at least for me, because then it means I've got to paint it myself. So this guy, I'm going to have a target here, and he is going to be shot through both ports from about as far... about as far right as you can come in this part of the shooting area. I'm going to put a target up here too, I think. One that'll be hidden when you come to the middle here, but that you can get. This one, kind of zoop around this way, so that when you come to the edge of the wall, you can see him, you can't get him from anywhere else. Ideally. And I've given myself a really tremendous shoot through there. So maybe he'll be further back, and we'll guard him with a barrel stack. some barrels to make him not there. And of course, maybe we'll stick a partial through this port. And another target up on this side. So you've got a couple of things to take through that port as you move from left to right. So there's 8 shots you're taking from that shooting area. I think I'm going to leave it at that for that one. Excuse me. All of these targets at 45-degree angles, I have to make sure I'm not accidentally making, we'll say, a certain symbol of a certain era of German history. Although I guess people won't see the stage from above, so it's not the end of the world if I happen to by mistake. Alright, so we'll put a second shooting area over here, and probably run that one all the way to the end. So I've got a fourth wall I'm planning on using at some point here. So that gives you access to that and that, but not from past the 180. So I can easily pop one right here, say, and that will give me a shot that will potentially hit my walls, which I don't want to do. That one's going to need some post 180 coverage. So there is, we've got 6 shots from that part of the stage now. Give him a downrange one to make 8. To be very barrel conscious on the 2 stages toward the end of the match. Ooh, I have said kind of to myself, not in public before now, but I want to try and have a thingy. I'm told apparently I've left 2022 in the description for this stream because I've been using the same one now for quite some time. There, I'll fix that. As I was saying, I want to put swingers at more or less every match, or at least some kind of mover, to make this a place where I can practice those in match conditions. It's kind of the joy of being match director. You can do what you want, do what you need to work on. So yeah, this will go in here somewhere, somehow. I think I can still run that shooting area down there and give a couple of targets, I'll say 2 targets on the move, an activator and a springer will give me 23 rounds, which I think is not bad for 4 walls. I'm very much well, the thing is I find it hard to design high round count courses a lot of the time. I'm one of those people who feels bad when he puts multiple targets on one stand, and that with the number of walls I have to work with and with what I can get my setup volunteers to do, it's tough to come up with good, like, say, 30 round stages. Probably the average big stage at Castlewood last year was 26 or so. The short technical one, I do find those fun to design because I think they're usually very good separators compared to hosier stuff. Which isn't to say that hosing isn't fun or good practice, but just a little harder to do well, I think. There was one I did last year that was, I feel like, actually a pretty good fast hosey stage because the target presentations for each of the arrays, they kind of varied through the array, so you had to kind of change gears repeatedly every time you stopped to shoot, which is an interesting way of doing it, I think. Come around the corner, there are no targets available once I put this barrel in the right place. I've shot kind of a hoser steel stage too. That was at Lawrence County, which is around here. They like for a lot of the time, at the end of the year, they'll bring out basically every steel target they have and put it on one stage, and that was fun. That was still pretty early in my revolver career, so I wasn't really comfortable. I wasn't as comfortable on that much steel as I would be now, I feel like. So I put some extra moon clips on the table and got through it all. It just took me a really long time. So I think I want this to kind of bend around behind the other shooting area because that's kind of fun. Need another 4-footer for over here. I'll also probably get some credit from my setup team for putting the movers and the steel early in the match, so I'm going to, like, as far as where the prop shed is. Anything to keep them coming back and helping. That's the main goal here. It's very hard to put on a match by yourself, especially the kind of match that I like to put on, which is to say, relatively complicated stages. I've got some off the ground somehow still. And we'll just overlap a bit there. Nobody will notice. Okay, so I've got, like I said, 1, 2, 4 from the start, 4 from the middle. I'm going to bring this around some so you can see it from the corner. Now I need a swinger, or maybe I'll use the clamshell here because that's a fun one too. Really very, like a big timing test. So we'll take 1, 2, that's not going to work. I've got too many wide open angles of fire, I feel like, so I'm going to have to be pretty careful with these. But I do have that wall I can use to hide them if they're not shoot-throughs. So that's... Okay, let's see where I can and can't take things from. It's possible I've drawn myself into a bit of a corner here. So I can put these guys, say, over here, and just use that wall to keep you from shooting them. mover then. I suppose I can actually put that kind of in this area and just count on not having the activator available as the way to keep you from using it, like having a shoot through there. So this guy, I'm going to put him here. So I think actually if I like that trick, yeah. So I'm going to set this up first, see if I can make it work, and then sort of clue you into where I'm going. So activator sequencing, of course, is tricky. You want to make sure you have something to do while the activator's activating. So I think I actually need to make this even possibly like 4x4. Well, actually I need that whole thing to get to that target then. So what I'm thinking here is that if I get this set up just right, I can make so you've got to take the activator before you start waiting on the mover then. So there's something to do. Again, it'll get clearer once I've put everything down and kind of walk through it. I do kind of want one of these guys, the knock over a popper and it swings up a target. Okay, so that'll serve as a clamshell, I think. Let's see, we'll put him kind of out here maybe. So our clamshell's not a max trap, it's actually like a clamshell where both sides are on the ground at first, then one comes up, then the other. So if I put this toward the end of the stage, I can... it's not a shoot through, it just kind of is there. So anyway, my goal here is to make you stop before it's kind of natural to shoot at the activator. So you've got something to do while you wait for it to fall. Pull him in some. I'm still not shooting at my wall too much. So maybe I'll even leave that far guy as an option from the front. Oop, big shoot through there. There's, I'm going to have to probably take that away from quite so far forward somehow. Ooh, it's actually kind of a tough one to manage, because it's going into something back there no matter what I do, unless I move him further out, which I can do. You've got to do something from back here anyway, so that way you can take him through the port, I guess, if you want. I think it'll probably flow better taking him through the port. You kind of come into that area, you've got 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4 back here or something. Somewhere. I might break my own self-imposed rule and pop a double stack there. This guy. So we'll put him right here. Again, that's mostly something to do as you're moving. I don't really care that the barrel doesn't take much away, it's just there for 180 trap compliance. Okay, so I've got a barrel stack I can do something with here now, which actually I might let him through the port, but I'll leave him as an option from outside for the purposes of making it tricky. I could take him away from the front if I wanted. Or I could take him away from here, which I might do. Although actually then from there he's kind of doing the thing I want to do. So from, can you? So I need a spot here on the stage where you can see the activator and also these targets before the wall. So this I think is kind of where I'm thinking, kind of what I'm thinking as far as the kind of gimmick of this stage. So from here you've got an activator you can shoot at. It's a big popper, so it'll fall slowly, and a target to do while you wait. So I think the thing is going to be, actually, if I open up that corner a little bit, or you can cut the corner, I guess. So you kind of, the thing I have in mind for this is you'll hit that popper from roughly here. You've got that guy to shoot at as you continue along the shooting area to see the clamshell. So this guy, put him somewhere where you can do a thing, maybe toward the end, so you can bring him around. That might be a shoot through from further, earlier in the stage, possibly. Not from there. That's past the end. So can you get him from the corner is the question. It's a bit of a lean. Actually, that's not too bad. You're just kind of on the thing there, on the edge. Alright, so let me count targets. I'm going to call that one good. I usually come back to these at some point, deeper into when I get closer to the match to do the setup sheets, and I will frequently make changes then as I see things I missed earlier on. But that's a fun little stage, I feel like. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 paper, and 1 steel for 23, which is what I thought. So if I pop over to I'm going to have to change the, well, actually, they do just about fit. We'll see. They might do. I don't see names where I should see names. No, I just haven't put them on the thing yet. Okay. Call that one stage 1, stage 2. We've been kicking around ideas for putting a shoot house onto our back bay here, which you almost never see used in matches. We've got little bays like that elsewhere that we can set up without having to go quite as far around the corner. Yeah. But a shoot house there would give us kind of almost a freebie stage. You can. The ideal would be walls inside you can reconfigure, so every time you come out and look at it, it's a little bit different. Or at least it's a little bit different whenever we feel like it's gotten stale in one form. But anyway, doing that, we basically have walls already kind of built in to a stage, so it makes it a little bit easier to just take some targets out there and throw them up, and suddenly we've got an extra one. Alright, so 4 stages down, 2 to go, and I can do both of these pretty big. So I've used a total of 5 walls now, and I think maybe 15 is probably where I'm going to try and draw the line for 2023. It's a little bit bigger than they were in 2022, but I find that it's easier to crack the whip for the setup crew if I'm there to do it. You know, if we haven't divided up into teams and gone elsewhere in the to multiple bays to set those up all at once. So if I've got like 4 or 5 people working on one bay, I can make sure we get them done in pretty quick. And the bigger stages are kind of paradoxically easier to make that happen on. I can actually name that one. Okay, what am I going to call, what am I going to do for stage 5? Got roughly 5 walls. I'll put 4 out on each just to make it a little bit easier. Oh, 4 in one of the old ones. Ooh, I actually need to email our club builder guy and give him dimensions for the walls again so we can get a couple set up. A couple more built for this year, rather. I'm told we already have the lumber, we just need to put them into, or put it into the finished form. That one's actually got some decent downrange movement to it. Do something kind of vaguely flag-shaped. So because our new walls are 8x4 and our old walls are 7x4, I have the ability to do a couple of little tricks. Like if I were to build a box of walls, I could use a 7-footer to make a 1-foot gap through which people can shoot. But I think I'm actually going to do something kind of like this. When we have all of our walls attached, so our wall bases are 5-gallon buckets full of concrete with PVC in them, sized to fit the legs of the walls. So they're, well, A, they're heavy, so it's annoying to bring a lot of them out to a stage, and B, it is tough to, well, B, they're harder to use if we, it's like we need more of them if we have walls that don't form like a snake-like line like this. But this, I think, will do nicely. That'll cut down the number of buckets we need, which is always good for these back bays. And it's kind of, I always think of stages with long lines of connected walls as kind of major match-like. I think you see those, you see that style of stage at majors more because the prop counts are typically higher. So getting one of those out is nice. So I've got something I can do over here. Some stuff out this way. Maybe I'll use a port here to kind of get some stuff in this arc, and a port here to get some stuff back here. I can constrain the angles on that with barrels. So this will give me a port you can't shoot kind of straight out that way through, and this one will do the same. Port that'll mostly be for this direction. Be great to have, I guess I can just kind of end the shooting area up at that port, and that'll make it easier. I think a fun trick for this stage might be a setup where it makes sense to keep back from that port in the middle. I'll have to figure out how exactly to make that happen, but something along those lines. Is that protruding a little bit, but it's under a wall. I feel like that's probably pretty clear what it means. To borrow the model with a port from over here. And for over here. Actually, we'll need to kind of dogleg out a bit so you don't have to come all the way up on that wall. This guy can be a double stack, I think. So I did lie a little bit when I said I don't like putting things in double stacks. I just generally, unless it's there to push up the round count in a particular area, I'd rather have 2 targets on 2 stands. But again, this makes for slightly easier setup, and the kind of point of these targets is less to... They're not solely for round count, but they are like kind of largely for round count. So something like that. So you got something to do from that corner. And some stuff out here in the middle. Something to make you come pretty deep into this front section. Cool. I might actually need to borrow a wall from over here to make this work. We've got a couple of buckets that will do 3. It's either that or barrels, which again is not quite what I want there. Yeah, so I need something to break up these two in some way, which might be as simple as kind of bumping them out like that a bit and moving the rest of the stage in to compensate. But you can be able to get rid of those barrels for that purpose and use them to kind of split some stuff up downrange. So this, and this, and this. Well, this and this come in, at least. Maybe get away with a 4-foot fault line there instead, and leave the rest of the stage the same, which will make me happy as far as not having to redo work goes. Stuff kind of like that. So that does give me a spot to hide a target specifically for this this section there. But I think I've kind of now abandoned the idea that it's best to take these from far away, since they're going to be pretty wide, and I think the wider a port is, the more you want to be up on it to take shots through it. It's going to be very tight there. Kind of similar from there. I can put this barrel stack at the peak, and that will give me a way to hide some stuff. So if I pop that there, I can stick a target kind of back here-ish. There's an obvious 6 from there, or you can take it from this side. Maybe it's this port you can kind of sort of roll through more carefully. Yeah, so I think it's a little tempting now to come up to this front section. Yeah, where it might be better to stay back, take that which you need to get through that port from further back, and then roll through up to this one. We'll have to come in pretty tight to get all 4 targets. Then I can pop some stuff back here, where it's behind the wall from the perspective of this port. Let's see, where's the... basically like right in there is where I'm going to have to be, which might involve taking out this big bend and making it a little bit smaller. Then you should draw some 8-foot fault lines. So yeah, something along those lines. Which gives us... we'll pop one... can I pop one like right there? No, because I've got... pop one like right here, maybe, without getting too in the way of some targets. So let's see, I'm going to come up right to the port. What can I see looking around? Quite a lot. So this might ought to slide slightly over. So it's a little more out of the way. So I've got one guy close up. 2 guys out there. And I'll put one guy kind of out here, maybe. The 8-round stage plan for this one's a little bit annoying, but I think I will let it pass. So you got to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, and then 6. And maybe I pop one kind of out there in the back somewhere. Is that a shoot through from here? Is there a spot that's not a shoot through? So that guy ends, I've got like some room, kind of back center. That one you can take. Well, that'll be a shoot through from here though. I'll just pop one kind of back from here, which is another kind of inducement to go up, to sort of take that extra distance. It's only, what, 4 or 5 yards, but it still makes a difference to people, I think. So that, I think, is a 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. And 8. Yeah. I don't always like going all the way to 8 in my stages, but I think it'll do this time. That'll give me 3 or 4 walls to do something interesting with on this last bay. Let's count that up real quick and see what we got. So Laws of Nature and Nature's God is a 23-round stage with 1 steel and 11 paper with 2 apiece. Gives us 63 imposing taxes on us without our consent. Is a 24-round stage. Simple 12 paper. 2 per. And so I can get to like 110 by a 20-round stage, or 100 with a 13-round stage. I can make it like a short course back here and not feel too bad about it, or like a slower medium course maybe. So I want to like something interesting movement-wise with 3 walls. Might involve a wall in the shooting area, possibly. That's kind of a fun trick. Although it's tough with our walls because so we've got the two concrete-filled buckets, and then from the far side of the wall, there's like a third. There's a little bracket for a steel rebar brace that we hammer into the ground to make them a little bit less wobbly. So we need to there'd have to be like a little triangle behind the shooting area, behind a wall in the shooting area that's not part of the shooting area, so as to prevent people from tripping over that bracket, which seems like a bad thing. I think like a wall in the shooting area doesn't make a big difference unless there's some reason to go around it. So maybe I skip that and do something kind of stair-steppy. Maybe there's something to that. Got something to do here. Something to do maybe through that corner. And then something at the back somehow. Have I been bucket efficient? No, I'm not bucket efficient at all back there, so I need to be careful with how many I use. So that gives me some room for uprange movement, possibly, which is always interesting, at least. Yeah, I think I like that. So we'll take some long fault lines and go kind of diagonal, I think. Do that same thing over here. Little 2-footer in there. I'll have to do something like this. So we've got a side of the wall to put that thing in, the brace in. Take that top corner, plug it in there. We'll do like a start stick somewhere here toward the back. Let's see, I've got USPSA targets down there. Yeah, so maybe I'll go half and half IPSC and USPSA this match. I might play around a bit with target height here, because that's always a fun trick to be able to play. So the only place you can really come and get around the walls is the middle. So I'm going to give us 2 targets you can get from there for sure. Maybe even 3. I'll put 1 in the back for a little bit of speed change stuff. If I shade it this way a bit, you've got a chance maybe to take it from a lean over here if you see that as more favorable for some reason. want something kind of like out here. If we tilt it away a bit, and is that supposed to be? It's not in that stage, okay. Or maybe I'll play around with it. Maybe I'll leave the target height for a different thing. Have I now made myself... Yeah, because of that. So unless I maybe pull this back a little bit and push these targets in... There's still a bit of a movement to do, probably, to get all those, like a bit of body movement to get to all 3 of those targets if you take them from right up on the thing. And that neatly solves the problem of, well, what if you want to take those targets from further up? So we can maybe get rid of this going all the way up. Take that. Spin him around like that. Take maybe even this guy. This might be the right length. Run him up to the wall there. Yeah. So now you've got a shooting it that's a little bit off of a wall, which is always a useful technique for doing more with less prop-wise. I might just move him a little bit over. It's not quite such a brutal lean. Is still going to be a pretty tough lean, I think, but I will allow it. So I really shade him over this way. So I don't always believe that you need options to make for a good stage, but having at least 1 or 2 will keep people from complaining if you don't. So yeah, I'll probably end up, before I do the gold master of this stage, put down some different target heights so that you've got some options. I guess you can actually take 1 or 2 of those from back here too, which might be an interesting option. Or at least an option, maybe not an interesting one. I can get probably all those from here, which I don't think I want. So I need some kind of vision barrier there. Well, I was trying to be a little bit wall conscious, so just pop this here and maybe give you a look at one of... Well, I can't do that, obviously, because then... So something kind of like this, maybe. On the green axis there. Ooh, too much to snap to. Something along those lines. You have a look, like I said, at that guy, and all 3 of them from there, and you can still get that from the lean if you want to. But yeah, I'll play with the target heights here, and maybe some partials to force you to change speed or transition in ways that aren't quite so easily dry-fired. And call it that. Let's count these up real quick, see what I've got. So from this, I've got 4, 6, 4, 6, and 6. That's a total of, what, 16, which isn't bad. 16 is a good number. Give me... what did I call that one? It was something... Absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown. That's a good name. That is a 16-round stage with 8 paper and 2 per target. A total of 103, so it's, again, a pretty short match stage-wise, but I think it'll do. So that's all I've got for you today on the stream. Thank you for stopping by and chatting and or getting a head start on prep for Castlewood this year. I'll see you next time.